morning, traders. I am Emily Advani, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Monday, May 19th. A U.S. debt downgrade means down markets this morning, but on Friday, markets were up. All three major indices closed steadily in the green. The Dow added 331 points, or just more than 0.75%. The S&P 500 gained 41 points, or just less than 0.75%. The Nasdaq advanced 98 points, or more than 0.5%. Bill, let's get into a new week and Monday with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Yes. Good morning, Emily. I'm watching the S&Ps. I mean, the S&Ps are getting hit this morning. There's no question about that. They're down 1%, 0.99. They were down worse. I mean, I saw them down, 1.27 earlier. Then it was holding steady at down 1.13. So, down just 1%. It isn't really horrible. The weakness is really, due to Moody's. I mean, Moody's lowered the credit rating on the U.S. After the markets closed on Friday. I mean, that really, sent traders to become nervous on the markets. But this isn't really something that's new. I mean, they said in December that they were considering it. Fitch, lowered the credit rating 2 years ago, and S&P did it like 10 years ago. So it's not really crazy news. It kind of was expected, but as soon as they expected, the markets will fall, and that's what we're seeing today. The weakness is really associated with the Moody's downgrade, and it was looking for something to pull it back a little bit. You got to talk about President Trump's sweeping tax bill. I mean, that advanced through the House Budget Committee last night, overcome a major hurdle of internal Republicans that were pushing for more cuts to Medicare. But the key thing is today, President Trump is going to be holding a call with Putin at 10 a.m. He's going to be discussing a path forward, a peace process to move it forward. And afterwards he's going to have a call with Zelensky and some of the European countries as well, apparently. The key economic event for the week ahead really is going to be that S&P Global Manufacturing and Services PMIs that are due out towards the end of the week, and also the data on existing and new home sales. Those are going to be hot. Upcoming this week, we got earnings from Target, Home Depot, Lowe's. They're going to be closely watched. These are the retailers, and you're dealing with an evolving tariff situation and various economic headwinds. So they're going to be watched very closely to see what they come up with for their earnings later this week. In terms of global markets, we're looking at the DAX. The DAX has really come back. It's only down 0.02% or 5 points. That's actually positive, and they are really focused on these geopolitical issues that are occurring. We're looking at the FTSE. The FTSE's down 35 points or 0.41%. That's that's coming back as well, and the CAC is down 57 points or 0.73%. There's a little negativity in banks and luxury and, of course, oil stocks. Then turn your attention over to Asia last night, and we saw the Nikkei fall 255 points, which is 0.68%. They're working on that trade deal with the U.S. It's expected to be announced next month. Hong Kong, was essentially flat. It fell 12 points or 0.05%, but the Shanghai was, fractionally higher. I mean, it didn't really change on a percentage basis, but again, we're waiting on additional clarity on those U.S.-China trade talks. Hopefully this week. Turn our attention over to oil, and oil is seeing weakness this morning. I got to tell you, oil is down, 0.8%. It was down over 1% earlier. WTI is at $61.97 a barrel, whereas Brent's at $64.84 a barrel. I mean, the key thing here is, President Trump's talk with Putin. This is another mediation effort that he's attempting, and any type of agreement would likely do with a lifting of sanctions on Russian oil. So that would add more supply, which would lower oil prices. So we got to keep an eye on those talks to see what happens, because that's going to have a direct effect on oil prices. And that's what I have for you in terms of a morning market update, Emily.
Bill, as you pointed out, the main headline here on this Monday is that downgrade. But you told us, you aren't necessarily surprised by this. Looking back to information all the way back to December, looking at other historical downgrades over the last couple of years or so, along with looking at today's news, and then also looking ahead to what's upcoming. That's what you do every day. You're gathering the in the moment market moving news, looking at historical data, but also able to look ahead. This is all using your NewsWare, gathering this information day in and day out so you can be prepared for the trading day ahead. You did mention also earnings action, though today is a little bit slow. There is a number of retailers reporting, and you did point out that given the state of the tariffs, looking at these retailers will become increasingly important for investors. So let's start there. Bill, what is going on in terms of earnings action?
And nothing came out Friday night or this morning that's of real significance. But, tomorrow morning we do have Home Depot. They're coming out. Their EPS is $3.59 with an expected move of 4.23%. Put call ratio is 0.50 even. BILI, Boy India, Larry India, they're also coming out tomorrow morning. Their EPS is 7 cents. Expected move is 11.25%. Now, they got a put call ratio of 0.28, which is rather positive. So that's all I see in terms of earnings action, Emily.
Another area of data that will pick up throughout the week are economic events. You did give us a preview of a few, and today there's at least one and a bunch of Fed speak to worth note. So, Bill, what is going on in terms of the day's economic events?
Well, let's take a look at it. 10 a.m. You get the leading indicators, and you got a lot of Fed speak going on today. Raphael Bostic, the Atlanta Fed, he's speaking at 8:30 a.m. John Williams of the New York Fed, he's speaking at 8:30 a.m. Lori Logan of the Dallas Fed, she's speaking at 1:15 p.m. And then Minneapolis Fed Bank President Neil Kashkari, he's going to be speaking at 1:30 p.m. The Moody's downgrade is really, the key for the markets right now. This is the first time in history that the U.S. lacks a top tier AAA rating from any of the three major credit rating agencies. Standard & Poor's, they did their downgrade in 2011. Fitch did theirs in 2023. So, Moody's is kind of really just catching up to the others. They're a little behind, but they didn't want to, put it out there too soon. But they had to do it sooner or later. So, not surprising. But they basically said that cited that the U.S. government's debt ratio was just way too high, and yeah, that's true. It is extremely high. But that's what I have for you in terms of economic events happening today, Emily.
Along with keeping track of all of that information, you're also following other types of data news and information. I do say this a lot when there's sort of this main headline that everyone's following. It's important to keep track of that, but it's also important to keep track of other details on the day. And you're doing that using your NewsWare along with the earnings action and economic events. You're following things like merger news, guidance news, shareholders meetings, buyback news, and catalyst calls. You're looking at your stocks grouped together like your FANG stocks and your Dow 30 stocks. So, Bill, what else do you see is possibly moving the market? It's on this Monday.
Doing a quick data check. I'm looking at my Dow stocks. I got 26 lower and 4 higher. I'm looking at my FANG stocks. They're all lower by over 1.5%. So, that's not a positive indication for a good opening this morning. You look at some of the news behind the headlines, like Apple. It's got a lot of negativity in the headlines. That deal that they had with Alibaba to bring AI features, it's really causing concerns, and the Trump administration is watching very closely. Meta platforms, they got a real issue on scam ads, scamming advertisements, and the company's highly reluctant to implement any measures that's going to negatively impact its ad buying clients. So that and plus they got the breakup talk that's going on with Meta. Stocks down 1.8% this morning in the pre-market, and Netflix, ticker NFLX. Listen, first off, the stock's down 1.85% this morning. It got hit by a downgrade by JP Morgan as they lowered their credit rating. They lowered their rating to neutral from outperform. That's a big hit that's a big brokerage firm giving a big hit to Netflix. So, that's not good for them. The stock probably see more weakness, in the day ahead. Talking Dow Jones 30 stocks, we're talking NVIDIA. NVIDIA is down 2.76% this morning. Their CEO gave the opening remarks this morning at Computex, which is a conference, a big conference going on in Asia overnight. Walmart WMT, Trump is telling public companies such as Walmart not to raise prices, saying they should eat it. It's not going to happen. The Trump tariffs are going to raise prices. You look at Walmart, it's trading down 1.6% this morning. Then you get Microsoft. They got that Build conference, that Microsoft Build 2025. That's starting today. And I want to point out that the CEO of Microsoft, he's scheduled to speak today at 12:05 p.m. Eastern time. So that's you got to wait for some comments on that. But that and then you're looking on shareholders, looking ahead to shareholders meetings going on. JP Morgan, ticker JPM. That's the key one. They're having an investors day today. Now, you've got all these executives at JP Morgan that are really, given a chance to speak, and they're really politicking for that top role. They all want that CEO role. JP Morgan is lower this morning. It's down 0.5%, but it could weaken further today because you lose Jamie Dimon. That's big weakness for the stock. DraftKings, ticker DKNG, they're having a virtual shareholders meeting today at 10 a.m. That's something that they keep an eye on. In terms of catalyst called VIST, Victor India Sam Tom. Citibank opened up a 90-day positive catalyst watch on Vista Energy this morning, ticker VIST. But that's what I have for you in terms of news hitting the tape this morning, Emily.
This is the type of data that NewsWare delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.newsware.com now and sign up for the trial and see for yourself the benefits that professional Newswire delivers. It is now that time of the show for the Trade Talk pick of the day. Bill, what do you have for us to kick off this week?
Ticker BILI, Boy India, Larry India, Bilani, I think that's how you pronounce it. Earnings are out tomorrow morning. Now, the EPS is 7 cents. The expected move is 11.25%. You look at the options volume from Friday, 17,000 calls traded against 5,000 puts. Looking at the open interest, 226K versus 120K. Very positive. A 0.28, put call ratio. I like that going into earnings. Now, it's not followed by the major brokers, so it's not hitting all my checkpoints. But those brokers that do follow it are second and third tier. They're all positive on the stock. But, I think the AM weakness we're going to see. So if there's a chance to get in 18-20 range, that's kind of what I'm looking for. And, if it hits that, I think we'll make that 1%. So that's my pick of the day. Ticker BILI, Boy India, Larry India at $18.20, Emily.
Bill, another earnings play today. We will follow that along with you. And in just a moment, we will do a check-in on Friday's pick of the day, which wasn't an earnings play. So we're going to see how that one worked out. But ahead of that, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that fit the tape in our Hot Off the Press segment. Bill, take it away.
U.S.-Japan trade agreement framework is being delayed in part over negotiations over burden sharing. JP Morgan says it's been invested in AI for over a decade, still in the early stages of the AI journey. A lot of headlines out on JP Morgan this morning. UNH trading higher this morning. CFO buys $5 million in common stock, and the CEO bought a big chunk today as well. BLNK, Blink Charging, announces restructuring, including a 20% workforce reduction. Juniper Networks, JNPR, extends its partnership with ServiceNow. Jacobs, ticker J, announces collaboration with NVIDIA. AMD is going to divest ZT Systems data center infrastructure manufacturer for $3 billion. Target TGT removes same-day delivery price markups from over 100 retailers. Norvax, NVAX, up 15% after FDA approves its COVID vaccine. Now, there were some catalyst restrictions on it, but they did give it an approval. Of course, Walmart, Trump tells Walmart to eat the tariffs after the retailer warned it was going to raise prices, and Trump just blasted Walmart for it because he can't have them be called Trump tariffs. Trump's going to sign a bill today at the Rose Garden at 3 p.m. Trying to figure out what that's on. EU regulators to decide on the Mars Kelnova deal by June 25th. Coinbase has given back some of its recent gains. Because remember, Coinbase, ticker COIN, is included in the S&P 500 as of today. So, stock was running up into the announcement and selling off now that it's included. So, yeah, that makes sense. That follows the pattern. That's all I'm seeing this morning, Emily.
Okay, Bill, before we dive into a new week of trading, let's do a check back on Friday's pick of the day, which was Novo Nordisk. Now, you didn't make this pick following the news that the company's CEO is stepping down. And, the stock was seeing some weakness because of this news, but you did think it was a bit of an overreaction given the strength of the company. We're hoping for a specific entry point to get in with that weakness and then capture a gain from there. Bill, how did your call work out?
It worked out. I mean, the fact of the matter, the stock opened up high. It opened up at 64.40, which, I just felt that was way too high for it on the day. Because, I had an entry point of 62.50, and at that time, the bid was 62.30. So, I mean, 62.50, I didn't think was, a crazy entry price, but it never even came close. It did fall down to 63.13, but if you, got in at the opening price, you look at the stock this morning, it hit 66.36 and it's currently trading, 65.97. So, the fact that it opened up at 64.40 and is now trading near the 66 range, there's your 1% more, closer to 2%. So NVO, Nancy Victor Oscar, was a winner on Friday, Emily.
I will take 1% or more, certainly a win there, and we will check in with you tomorrow about today's Billy pick of the day. Bill, thank you as always for your expert insight. Join us back here tomorrow and each weekday morning this week at NewsWare's Trade Talk when we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Again, I'm your host, Emily Advani, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, you know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.